Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel, Simply Reefing. Today we're going to go ahead and just do an overview on the Cade 1800. Alright, so what we're going to go over today really is just what's been going on with the tank since the last time I put up a video. Obviously, guys, you're probably aware my channel is back. Something happened with YouTube. My guess is they didn't like the title of my last video. Not really sure. They were kind of very vague about what happened with everything. So with that being said, we are back. Glad that I'm able to keep the channel and bring you guys this tank build series here on this Cade Aquarium. So what's been going on since the last video is cycle's still going. As I mentioned before, some of the products that I used that had their claims of about 5 days cycle and you'll be able to get your tank going, not so accurate, not so true on that. We're still looking at some high numbers in the nitrite and the nitrate. The ammonia is actually down to 0 now, which is good. So it looks like there's a cycle. It's not as quick as it should be, but there's a cycle that's happening. So when I say it's not as quick as it should be, meaning going by what the claims of the products that I used were, that 5 days you'll have the tank running. It's been almost 2 weeks now. So it is what it is. That's why I say to go ahead and make sure you do your test. That way you're not going by what something says on a bottle. Because if I believed that, I'd start putting fish in here and they would definitely be dead. That wouldn't be happy, that wouldn't be good, that wouldn't fly right. So it doesn't sit well with me that that's the claim, and these are the results, but that is reality. So we are going to keep testing this tank until we get to a point where the cycle has gone through its process and at least the nitrates have gone down and I have some nitrates there. At that point we'll probably have to do a water change or so, depending on where we're at so far with everything that's going on. But just go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe to follow along so we can go through this process together. Another thing I want to point out, I did go ahead and get the straps mounted for the light rack that's going to go on this tank. Those are up there and ready to go, so that way when I go ahead and get the tank, everything transitioned, the lights and everything over to the new tank, I don't have to worry about doing that. So that's been taken care of. The pump that's in here now, as you guys remember, I did talk to you guys about having the CJ pump in here. That's still working. There was no problem with it at all. Like I said before, it was like a 550 gallon per hour pump. I did find an old pool pump that I had on an above ground pool that I had at my home, had at a previous home before. I've since taken that all apart, and this is what I have circulating the tank at this moment here. I think it's about 2,000 gallons or so per hour that it pumps out of here, which is ridiculous for this tank. As you guys can see, all the sand has been blown to the side, but you know what? It's rocking and rolling. It's doing exactly what I need for it to do, which is circulate the water in the tank, get everything kind of pushed into the rocks as far as bacteria and things like that. I know for certain they'll make their way into the system or into the rock work, but that extra oomph with the flow is going to help out with getting everything working together here. So there's going to be flow through the rocks, through all the little crevices, things like that. I did manage to find an RFG nozzle that I had kind of a test print on, so I slapped that on here to get some of the flow really circulating, which has been helpful. But for the most part, it is doing what I wanted to do, and we actually have life in here. And when I say life is in here, we got pods, we got amperopods, we have all the little critters starting to show up that would help get this tank to the point that it needs to get to. So I have stomatillas that are in here, which are the little snail, flat-shelled snails, things like that. So that I'm happy with. So that means that the live rock that I pulled from this system and the rock that I had curing out here did bring a lot of good beneficial critters with it. So that's a plus, and like I said, we're going to go ahead and try to take this as easy as possible here to get the tank up to where it needs to be. Let's see, what else do we have going on here with this system? Other than that, a couple things that I do want to take note for myself, and just in case if you guys ever do get this tank, depending on the flow in here, which again I'm not 100% certain until I get the actual pump going and things like that, it does get a surface skim. I had the drain set to where, you know, it should be pulling everything off the top, but it looks like if I have too much flow pushing in one direction, that surface skim kind of stays on this side of the tank. So that again just may be playing around with the flow when I do move everything over and addressing that particular situation. Another issue or another concern of mine that I found was down here in the sump area, and down here what I was finding is there's a lot of humidity coming from out of the cabinet. That may just be the Florida heat. I know I had the issue with this tank over here, but it's not as humid as this one. There is heat in here, but not the humidity. And the humidity is what's a concern for me. So I don't know if it's just because of low flow that's running through the tank and the water's just staying hot, what it could be. But again, that's another thing that we'll just have to take note of, and I'll probably have to address once I get the tank completely running. These are just minor things, surface skim, humidity, that can all be resolved fairly easy with just some minor tuning or pump positioning and flow and things like that. But it's just something for you guys to be aware of if you do get a tank. I don't want anybody to say, well, look, this tank doesn't do this. Look, it's all just, you know, trial and error. So again, could just be the flow, could be the flow, it could just be ventilation. May need to throw a fan on here, but who knows. So again, we'll get to that. When we get to that point of dealing with it, we'll address it. Other than that, a couple other things that I did do, and there was actually a comment from somebody's on my last video where they talked about the filter socks on the tank. I ran the filter socks on the tank for a couple of days, mainly just to grab some of the particulates from when I put the rock and the sand in the tank. I do a mix of it, so I run the filter sock to kind of grab all of those particulates, but I don't really run the sock because I want everything to kind of go through a circulation without being skimmed off or picked off by any means. So right now there is no filter socks. Everything's running free flowing through here. Nothing's being filtered out, and we're letting all the pods and everything go through their process of their ebb and flow. And you know, that is what it is. There is an algae film, or not really algae film, but I'm going to say a bacteria film starting to form, because I did have a small bacteria bloom a couple of days ago. It was all white and cloudy. It was still, I still could see through it, but you can tell there was a bacteria bloom that happened. And now I have a film of bacteria on the glass. I'm not going to scrape it off right now. I'm just going to let it sit, because there is critters and little pods that are embedded in there and kind of doing their thing. So that's that piece. Tank cycle is going well. Hopefully by the end of September here, I should be able to start moving things over to the tank. But again, we'll see what happens with the numbers and then go from there. One last thing that I did take advantage of. I've seen a lot of people put lights on their tanks, on the back, on the side, things like that. I decided to take advantage of the fact that this tank is a bit lifted with the legs, and I put lights all around on the bottom of the tank stand, and I also put some lights inside here for me to be able to see. So the lights are on there right now. They're not plugged up because most of the controllers are on the old system here. As far as the LED strip on the bottom, it's a nice little addition to the tank. I'll try to get some of the video footage for you guys on that. It shows it really well at night. But we are doing pretty well with this tank so far. I do want to appreciate you guys sticking in there and subscribing to the channel, and just, you know, leaving your comments and letting me know what you guys think. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video here, because again, it's an empty tank, not much going on with it right now other than bacteria and rocks. So here's the rock work. And that is that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cut this video. And until we talk again, you guys take it easy.